Welcome to the Been There Doing That podcast. I'm Robert Scrivener.
And I'm Gayla Scrivener.
We left the 9-to-5 grind, downsized, and our goal is to have freedom to live and to work from just about anywhere. Thank you all for joining us today. Keep getting a glimpse of our work from anywhere lifestyle. Today we're going to talk about one of our long-term investments and plans to help sustain us in living our mobile lifestyle, and that is rental property. When we made a decision to move down to Florida, we decided to keep the house and use it as income and convert it to rental property. Why didn't we sell it, Gayla?
Well, I had the house before I met you and had several years of the mortgage paid down. And honestly, I wasn't sure how long that job in Florida was going to last, and I thought it'd be nice to have a place to come back to. This is where our family is and everything. And so I just really wanted to keep it and just have somebody living there and rent it. But as we sold off everything and moved into our RV, I thought it more important than ever to keep that rental property, because in my opinion, that if you're to sell off everything and have a mobile lifestyle like us, that if you have a house that you own or paying some rent on, or mortgage on, then I think you should keep it. It's a great asset to have, and in the short term, you can cover your expenses like the mortgage and some repairs, but over time you're able to have the mortgage paid off, and then you can create passive income. So I think it's important to keep property if you have it. That's
correct. We did learn some lessons, though.
Major ones.
Major lessons, so we'll share with you some of that. Let's see. And we learned some mistakes, too, what to do and what not to do. So we'll go over them.
Hopefully people won't make the same mistakes we did.
Yeah.
But it was a good learning experience. We're big do-it-yourselfers. And so
we try to be, anyway.
When we were preparing to move to Florida and knew that we needed renters, our family knew that, and they put the feelers out and everything. And actually, one of my family members approached me and said, "Hey, I know somebody at work that their daughter..."
We found somebody.
Yeah, we found somebody. Their daughter needs a place to stay. She's a single mom, has a preteen daughter, and would like for you to rent it to her, consider. And so... Sure.
Why not? Get somebody in there. Let's
get somebody in there so we can
have this thing pay for itself.
Exactly. Well, what we did, we didn't do background checks because, she was a friend of a friend, and I knew the lady's mother because I had worked with her in the past. And as soon as we moved out, the next day she moved in. And she wasn't much trouble as a tenant. I mean, she's a nice lady. We didn't hear from her much, but some of the things that inconvenienced. I mean, we decided that we're in Florida, and so the contact people for her, if she needed help, was us, Mm-hmm. But she ended up paying cash for her rent. That's fine, but you don't mail cash.
No.
And so that put a position that my mother would deal with depositing and giving out the rental receipts. So that was kind of a drawback because we depended on...
had to depend on another person.
Yeah, and we are so appreciative that she did that. She didn't mind doing that, but honestly, that would put somebody out, and that's not fair to them. and then when repairs were needed along the way, we'd call upon friends and family to go check it out before we called a vendor. And again, very appreciative of our friends and family,
Yeah.
but that's so unfair to them. The biggest mistake I think that we did was that we charged
Not
the
enough.
rent,
Yeah.
not enough rent. The rent was basically the same amount as the mortgage payment. And the reason why we did that was we were trying to be nice to our tenant
Yeah.
and give her a break and everything. But that really bit us in the rear later.
There was no room for making repairs in the budget.
No. So anything that would come up, maybe a minor plumbing repair, or I think we had to do something with the chimney at one time. I don't remember, but that came out of our pocket. And all the rent money went into, from the very, very beginning, I had all the rent money going into a separate bank account, and the mortgage would go out of that same bank account. So, and I'd keep track of the expenses, and on the taxes, it was a loss, but I kept good records, and that's something that I advise everybody to do, is keep good records. What I did find out during the process while we were in Florida, I ended up refinancing the property. It was a good time to do that. There were some reasons why I wanted to do that. But we left in such a tizzy, I guess, and we didn't know what we were doing. One thing that I learned was that when the mortgage was refinanced and then it was classified as rental property, and then my insurance agent said, wait a second, you don't live there anymore, it's rental property? And I said, yeah, that's true. And she said, well, then your insurance is dropped significantly. And that was a cool thing that I didn't realize. And the reason being was because our possessions aren't in the house.
That's true.
We are insuring the house itself. If the roof needs replacing, or a big water leak, or whatever to the property itself, it's up to the renters to have renter's insurance.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a cool experience there, that learning experience.
Well, we would go over there every once in a while. I would, and kind of clean out the gutters whenever we was in town, and it's up on the roof one time. I remember, and it was stinking through the roof. It was literally smelling coming through the roof.
And we figured out.
They had cats.
And
yeah,
we were speechless, and we were pretty well hands off. Our tenant didn't contact us much. She was always up to date on her mortgage, and so we decided to kind of not pay attention to it.
Yeah.
And that was a mistake.
Paid the bills on time, and didn't give much trouble. Well,
so what happened after that experience of Robert's like, something's not right here, we became a little bit more involved, but it came to a point that we needed to let her know that the house needed to be clean, that the condition of the house wasn't appropriate, or just
wasn't up to what we would accept from a renter, I guess.
Wasn't acceptable.
Yeah.
That's what I was trying to think. And it wasn't long, and I don't know everything that had transpired. There weren't any ill feelings or anything like that, but she did give notice, and she did move. I do believe that at the same time we were moving toward higher rent, and I think that it was probably the best thing that we parted ways. But once she moved out and we got in there and really looked at things,
Yeah,
oh my goodness.
It was terrible.
The really big lesson or eye opener was, not everybody lives the way we do. Not that we are neat freaks by any means, but
there was floors. Pretty much all the floors got replaced except for the wood floor, which we redid the wood floors. In the laundry room had 3 layers of floor.
Yeah, we ripped up 3 layers of floor. There was a carpet and I think 2 laminate,
underneath it.
And there was cat urine soaked all the way down to the subfloor.
Yes,
and,
terrible.
I was speechless. And
The half bath got new floor in it, new tile.
Mm-hmm.
The kitchen got new floor in it, and as the rest of it had wood floor, and we just sanded it all down, and then
we washed and washed. Or we had to.
Well, it had carpet in it originally, and she pulled out the carpet.
She did.
Yes, without letting us know. That's what it was.
And then she stained the dining room, and it was terrible. It was what did we call that? It was a ring around a area rug.
Crop circle's what I called it.
Yeah, it was a crop circle that we called it. And, you know what I just thought of?
What'd you think?
When we post this on our website, let's show pictures.
We do have pictures.
We do.
We'll put them in the show notes and stuff.
But anyway, we did everything ourselves, practically everything ourselves.
Painted everything. Took all the cabinets out, the doors off of the kitchen.
Mm-hmm.
Kills went into everything.
Everything.
It was backpack sprayer and just went to town on everything.
And she didn't get her deposit back, but her deposit was not even, that was half of a rent payment was her deposit.
Which was cheap.
Which was cheap. We could have gone through and probably worked out or gone after or something, have grievances, but we just didn't have the energy. We just wanted to move forward. And honestly, she's a good person. It's just we did not do our job as landlords. And there are a certain amount of things that we need to do as landlords. And as we were going through the cleaning process, and we took time off of work, growing our business, because we were full-time.
It was about 3 months, I think it took us to do that, or just slightly longer.
I think you're right.
Around 3 months to do this whole cleaning, new floors, all on our own.
And and painted the place from top to bottom, got the smell out.
Big thing, getting the smell out.
Made it look really cute, and made more renter friendly. We got the carpets out and redid the floors and everything. But we thought doing everything ourselves, at the time, we didn't have anything in reserve to just hire somebody. So we had to use our blood, sweat, and tears.
Just because we didn't have the rent high enough to make put back for repairs.
Exactly. And I don't even know if the rent and if we had a stash back that the repairs
would have covered
it anyway. But we just wanted to move forward. We didn't want to have, to deal with anything but focusing on getting the repairs done and getting new tenants in. And we were talking about what are we going to do next and everything. And again, a friend of a friend approached us. And we thought, easy way out. We don't have to advertise this thing.
Yeah.
We're almost done. And they could come in and just move right in as soon as we're done. And that was easy for us, and we took the easy route.
Again.
And we shouldn't have. We did up the rent a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But honestly, personalities were so different that I found it draining to work with our tenants.
Yes.
That doesn't mean that they aren't good people. It's just that me personally, I wanted my focus to be somewhere else. I wanted to concentrate on growing our business. I wanted to travel. But when they would call with different issues, like for example, one time I remember a phone call, and it's like I needed to drop everything I was doing and go over there right then. And that was that urgency. It's like, Gail, I need to talk to you right now. And it could not be talked about over the phone.
And what was that?
Well, when I went over there, their grown daughter that was living with them went left, and
they wanted to change the locks.
Yes,
that's what it was.
Yes, they wanted to change the locks so that their daughter couldn't come in.
Mm-hmm.
And so I went through the expense of doing that for them and did it quickly. And then the daughter ended up moving back in there within a month anyway. And it was just, I don't know. It was different. But
oh, they had done something on their own, and then they wanted to try to take it off the rent.
What had happened, and what kind of broke our relationship, I guess, and that they did not care for us as renters. One time there was a bathroom light that they didn't call us about to fix. I had no idea that something was wrong with it. Well, when they paid the rent, they and that was another thing I'll get back into, remind me.
Mm-hmm.
But when they paid the rent, they didn't pay the full amount. And I asked them about it. And they said, oh, well, there was a light in the bathroom that we went ahead and fixed, and we just deducted what that was.
Off the rent.
I'm not real experienced at all of this, but it did not settle well with me. So I contacted our attorney that we have, and I just said, hey, I don't know. Is this okay to do? And they said, oh, no, that is not right. Now, if you pre-arranged something before the repairs were done, and we had done that with another project, they needed a handrail, and we went and purchased all the materials and the gentleman of the house
installed
it. That was great. Probably would have done the same thing with the light, but we weren't told. The attorney said, hey, do you want me to send a letter on your behalf? Because that's just not right. And if you continue to allow this to happen, then, I mean, that's just not right. So I said, yes, please. At that point, our tenants honestly hated us.
They swapped and
yeah. And that's okay. I mean, like I said, our personalities and the way we do business is just a little bit different. And another thing that tied us down was that they wanted us to drop by the house every month to pick up the rent, and that just doesn't seem right either. And
most places that they want it to mail it,
or there's a drop-off.
There's a drop-off. You go to them instead of them coming to you.
And it took a while, but I was like, we travel. Here's the P.O. box. Make sure it's there on the first of the month. And that was an ordeal. So we began our search for a management company. I said, I don't want to manage. I want to continue to keep the property because long term I see the best results, for our investments. And having the property as an asset is important. So we, like I said, began interviewing and looking for a management company. And we went in and started interviewing with one and talked to them about our experiences and everything. And we were setting up the process for them to take over, but then our tenants did give notice.
Yes.
And so our management company helped us through the process of of the exit strategy with the current, which was great, and they helped us with the marketing of new, and
Actually setting the price of what would actually be a reasonable price for a house in that neighborhood.
yes, which was great.
We were still a little bit low on rent.
Well, they asked us, what is it that you have to have? And I put it up just a little bit above what our current tenants were paying us, which was still, there was still a little cushion. And they said, oh no, a house that size with the property and in that school district and in that neighborhood needs to be such and such. And that was well above. And I said, I'm comfortable with that. Well, and they get a percentage, only 10%.
10%.
And
what do they do for that 10%?
Well, they take all the phone calls.
We don't get no phone calls in the middle of the night.
Minor repairs they'll go ahead and do, and we have like a $200 fund
And if
for
it's
that. And
over that, they call us
us
and get approval,
Mhm.
which is nice.
They collect all the rent monies. They will charge late fees. They keep all the late fees, which they need to because they work hard to get the. It doesn't make sense to me for them to pass that late fee along. They earn every penny of getting that rent money.
Our tenants don't even know who we are.
No.
That's nice. But they passed a background check, so that's a plus.
Yeah, we don't know the dynamic or we did not pick. They did interview and they advertised for the new tenants. They did background checks, and then they basically gave us the documentation and said, is it okay to rent to these folks? Which I'm leaning on them to use their expertise. Now, I treat it like a business, so I hold them accountable. If something doesn't feel right to me, or if I know of a vendor that I want to repair something, then I'm going to talk to them about it. And so my mindset of us not having to manage it on a day-to-day, but we are the owners, and we have hired somebody to do the day-to-day. I want them to use their expertise and pay them for what they do. But it has been actually a delight
It's a weight lifted off of us, not having to deal with that. And it's still ours. We still get money from it. They get their money for doing their work of making sure that the tenants pay on time and stuff like that. So it's...
And they recommend, we were turned off about having any pets, but, they helped us through that, and they charge a pet rent.
A pet fee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I let them deal with that, and we've had these current tenants for 2, maybe 3 years, 2.5 years.
Well, at least 2.
Yeah. I guess we're coming up on 2.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing that we just did this year that we probably should have done from the very, very beginning is we contacted our lawyer and put the property as an LLC.
Yes. And
so it's truly a business, and it's got a layer of protection. What if something happened and the tenants sued us or something? Our personal assets, there's a layer of protection on that, and we still keep, what we've done right from the very beginning was keep all of the rent money and all the expenses flowing through a separate bank account. We don't intermingle it with our personal. Now, if we've had personal or expenses that we had to pay out of our own paycheck, I just kept that,
Yep.
very good records of that because that needed to go on our taxes. But that in a big nutshell is our experience with our rental property, and even though we had all of that exhaustion of doing things ourselves,
We're glad we didn't get rid of it.
I'm glad, yeah. And honestly, if anyone that is thinking about just selling off everything and downsizing and living into an RV or just a mobile lifestyle, if you have property and you can keep it, I'd advise that you do, because property anywhere is, and the longer you keep it, I think that's important. Now, the things that I would have done differently and I recommend, so in summary,
Going back in retrospect,
what's the first thing that we should have done?
we should have hired a management company
Right out of the gate. Right out of the gate.
But it was a friend of a friend, and in need, and we happened to be taking the easy way out.
And what we should have done was, hey, we've got a management company. You need to apply to them. It's out of my hands.
Yeah. That weeds out all the crazies.
It does.
I mean, it really does. I mean, the people that are really serious will actually come through and do it.
Yeah. On a separate note, I remember when we went to Florida to rent from somebody, and the landlord was basically buying up the
whole entire block.
The block, and they were living down the road from us. But I remember telling them, it's like, I don't have references. I haven't rented in so long. I don't know if you'll even want me. I do have, you can contact my mortgage company.
Yeah.
So, but that was, the people that are afraid to fill out applications, and really in retrospect, our first tenants were afraid of filling out those types of applications and going through background checks and things. And don't determine yourself how much. Number 2 lesson, don't determine ourselves what we should set the rent at. Have the management company do that.
Yeah, because they know what's going on in the area, what price should be fair for everything, and that's their job.
They know the market.
Yep.
Now, you know what the minimum you should have to cover at least the mortgage,
Yep.
if you still have the mortgage. And then maybe you want a few $100 buffer so that you can grow the bank account. But
set back for repairs.
But if I really liked the fact that they asked me the minimum and they said, this is what it should go for. Well, they're the experts. I went with them.
Mm-hmm.
And then number 3 big lesson is we just need to treat it as a business.
Yep. Keep everything separated.
Have a separate bank account and form that LLC from the beginning. Thank goodness nothing really happened legally, but I like it for tax purposes and for financial purposes.
Keeping track of everything.
Mm-hmm. And the number 4 thing is, when you're converting, contact your insurance agent. There might be some savings.
Yep, you could save money.
And so it's worth asking.
Yep.
And planning for that, instead of being so anxious to get out of there and get a renter in. Think about it a little bit. Have your big old garage sale to empty out the house, but as you're planning your garage sale, get your management company in there, and then hop into your RV and travel. But by having rental property, you deal with so many different personalities and some challenges, but I am so glad to continue to have the house as an asset. We're not drawing any income from it yet, and that's okay, but it's not cutting into our personal expenses either. And in fact, I'm really proud that our nest egg, I guess, as you can say, is building. For that, so that we're not tapping into our personal expenses if we have to do, replace windows or do some upgrades to the property.
Won't be long and before it'll be paid off and we could actually do that.
Exactly.
So
and then long term, as we age, I want it as part of our retirement fund because we have property with no mortgage, and who knows, we may get more property that we would want to rent out and pay off the mortgage, and when we retire, we're drawing a paycheck from this rental property.
Never know.
Yeah.
It could happen.
Or, we may want to move back there. Life circumstances could change.
It could change. We might want to move back to
be
in the city again.
I have no desire to want to move back into that house, but it's nice to have a net, I guess, that if
Something
we needed
did happen,
to.
yes.
Yeah. So, hey, we hope that today's show has helped you in some way.
Some of you might even get a chuckle out of some of the obstacles that we ran.
The obstacles.
incurred, but that's why we're here, is to let you guys know what's going on in our lifetime.
And we're glad you joined us today, and we'd love for you to subscribe to the Been There Doing That podcast on iTunes or Google Play or even Stitcher. And any questions that we can address on future episodes, feel free to email us at podcast@beentheredoingthat.com.
We'll catch you all later.